All right, Leo, so a little bit difficult this week. Now, from Le Vampire, you pulled witness, to know personal evidence and to speak out. And then from Chakra Wisdom, you pulled guilt. Now, witness, the blessing says, the veils of illusion and deceit have lifted. While this can be painful, it is also a great blessing to know the truth. Do not doubt your experience. And then working with this card says, accept the evidence of your experience and honor it within your heart and within your words. When wisdom demands you speak freely. So basically becoming a witness to your experience, and what your experience is showing right now is guilt. Now, the very first quote for this card says, I am sorry, but I have to take care of myself. The inspiration says, do not do for others what they need to do for themselves. Speak truth from your heart. Honesty is freedom. Any guilt is fear of being disliked. The personal question says, am I giving way too much time and energy and resenting it? Is my anger really guilt? The key ideas are self-care, burdened by obligations, enabling others, finding personal power. So basically looking at the two right now, guilt is affecting you, and you're becoming a witness to this. And also becoming a witness to the fact that that does not have to be your experience. All right, Leo, here we go. Here's the energy coming through. Very nice. So, even if your experience is a little bit tough right now, you may be feeling guilt or you're doing something out of guilt. With the sun being here, you're fine. You're fine. Now, for some of you, you may be feeling a little bit drained. But, when the sun shows up for me, regardless, it's like you're okay. Being protected, feeling revitalized and rejuvenated, the energy of the sun, and it looks good. And this being the overall here, no matter what happens to you this week, you're going to be fine. And then the past, the Five of Cups. So, yeah, going back to that sense of feeling drained here with the sun being here, again, you're okay. But, I can see how some of you may be feeling a little, maybe wore out. I'm not really seeing it as super bad, but with the Five of Cups as the past coming through, you're talking about emotional pain and emotional suffering. For some of you, this could be a loss that you've suffered here. But with the Five of Cups, again, not all is lost, right? But unfortunately, it's saying in the past, there are some hurt emotions here, that may be coming to the surface too, looking at the sun, but, not in a way that is like confusing, which is good. And in the present, yeah, I don't know why I kind of felt the energy of the moon. That's why I felt like I needed to say some things being illuminated. What we see under the light of the sun is, accurate compared to the light of the moon. But, looking at the Eight of Cups, it's funny because the moon is a part of this card too. Now, with the Five of Cups above this, the Eight of Cups is basically saying now is the time to walk away. Right? Stop feeding into something that is not serving you or that is emotionally dragging you down. Don't feed any more emotions into it, It's difficult, though, looking just at the two. When you're talking about emotional pain and suffering and needing to move away from that, it can be difficult. My goodness, Leo. But again, the sun is still there. It's just for some of you, the emotions are going to be really difficult this week. Oh my God, what is happening? Future conditions, the Four of Cups, you get numb from this. Jeez Louise. All right, so now with the Four of Cups being future conditions, you're talking about emotional apathy. There's that lethargic feeling, being numb. There's got to be something better than this. And for some of you, I don't think that it's that easy for you to just walk away, with the Eight of Cups being there. It's like you're trying to, but I don't think that you do. And if you do, you just end up, being, again, emotionally numb. And it all has to go back to the past. Like it all has to do with what happened in the past with the Five of Cups. That brought you down oh my goodness. For emotional things to show up for Leo is different. I say it with Aries because you don't really see it with them. When Leo starts to get emotional, the pain that's there can really drag you down. So again, there's that drain with the sun. but it's still there. Like, I'm still feeling hopeful about it. For some of you, you just need to be careful here with your emotions, right? It's obviously something in the past has hurt you bad enough to the point where in the present moment, you're having a hard time walking away from the emotional pain. But, if you don't, or even if you do, I feel both ways. Whether you don't or do, you're going to be numb after the fact, and looking for something better. Man, this is rough. Your best path to follow. Look at that shit. Wow. Wow. The Sun in Judgment. Jeez. Now, Judgment, being the best path to follow, is talking about, needing to go through the review, make amends for the past, and move forward. It's hearing the calling, but it's also about rebirth and second chances. Now, when I'm looking at Judgment, I'm looking at you needing to, again, walk away from the past, but be okay with it. Making a different judgment. My goodness, Leo, jeez. I'm waiting here to see what is in your environment and how this is going to play out, but, again, the Sun is still there, and then Judgment feels good too. It's just some of you are really needing to hit that rebirth, but the only way that you're going to be able to do that is if you clear up the past. Oh, boy. Oh, the emotions are everywhere, everywhere. Now, when you're looking at the Knight of Cups and you're looking at the Five of Cups, for some of you, this could simply be, some emotional pain in regards to not being able to do what you want to do, following your heart. That's kind of where the Knight of Cups comes in. Now, when you're talking about like receiving messages from somebody, with the Eight of Cups, it's almost like, especially with the Four of Cups being there, like rejecting an offer because you're just too emotionally blah. I think that for some of you, if this has to do with a relationship, if you have somebody coming through that is like wanting to offer you, some emotions, right? With the Knight of Cups, I always feel like, here, take my cup, right? With the Eight of Cups, it's like, you want to experience something different, but at the same time, you're having a hard time walking away from this, and it may be directly related with the Knight of Cups. So basically, if you have somebody coming through that's trying to offer you something, in the past, there was emotional pain involving this. And it's like you're trying to move away from that, but then with the Four of Cups coming out, you're like, you know what? No. Like, it's got to be better. Something has to be better than this, But for you, regardless of whether or not, you're dealing with offers coming through, especially in regards to, emotions and love and romance here with the Knight of Cups, with Judgment, either way, you have to be okay with the past before you move forward, My goodness. Oh, your hopes and your fears, the Knight of Swords. Now, this to me, my advice to you seeing this, especially with Judgment being there, is, don't make any quick decisions here. The Knight of Swords, I don't question the truth with this, but I see really blunt, direct communication. It's also somebody doing something with haste, and again, doing something without all the available information first. And then for some of you, it's needing to say something, but, fearing that it's going to come out, too harsh. Now, for some of you, I almost feel like, you may be the ones that are being turned down, though, too, when it comes to the Knight of Cups. But I don't know. I feel like a lot of this is, external to Leo, more so than you making an offering to anybody here. Now, if you're looking to express your emotions here with the Knight of Cups, or try to, offer somebody, an emotional experience, with the Knight of Swords, I would be careful. I would be careful because it's almost like you're fearing that you're going to say it wrong. It's still the truth, but it's like it's not coming out right with the Knight of Swords. But I do think that for some of you, it's just something needs to be said, But like, it's funny because I look at this card, I see the scissors and I see the blood at the end of the scissors, and I think of something being said that hurts, cuts deep, right? For some of you, you're getting this communication. For others of you, it's you, needing to say something or worried about something coming out wrong. But with the sun being there, it's like you're okay. I almost feel like if some of you are rejecting an offer, like you're okay. It's just that you don't see it because you're here. You'll end up being here just like numb from everything, which makes sense. Oh, shit. Oh, shit. All right. So, yeah, with the Two of Cups and the Four of Cups, I do think that some of you are going to be turning down an offer here when it comes to a relationship. For some of you, it's that the feeling of there has to be something better within an existing relationship. Now, the Two of Cups coming out, that is the emotional bonding between two people. It is about the relationship. This could be love, romance, family. For some of you, I feel like this is going to have to do with, a romantic relationship. Because there are a lot of emotions surrounding this. A lot of emotions. If you have had trouble in the past with a relationship, right, it's like everything is okay. But the problem is that there are some emotions that you're going to have to walk away from here before you have clarity and this feeling of rebirth. Again, Judgment talks about second chances. Now for some of you, it's, I'm looking at the Knights, but I'm looking at them more as communicators than actual actions. It's a little bit of both, but I feel like what's happening here is that either you or the other person here with the Knight of Cups is making that emotional offering. Unfortunately, you're still stuck with some stuff that, is weighing you down, that you need to move away from, but, it's difficult. Especially with this as the past coming through and still dealing with that emotional pain. When you get to the Four of Cups, it's like, it needs to be better. And it's almost like you have something that you need to say with the Knight of Swords. But, needing to be careful about, words cutting too deep here. Because the Two of Cups is about coming together, right? Not separating, coming together. And then you have the Two of Coins. Wow. So now for some of you, basically, what you're dealing with here is not just emotional difficulty, but balancing out financial, though, too, looking at all three of these, all pentacles here. Now, the Eight of Coins is talking about putting in a lot of effort. A lot of effort. The Nine of Coins is saying, though, that I feel like, it's just you doing it. It's like you're not receiving it back almost. And then the Two of Coins, needing to balance things out within the relationship, right? This one's a little bit tough, and again, it's not going to apply to everybody, but, I get the feeling here that there may have been some things that were said that really cut deep for you, and there's some emotional pain surrounding it. There's a need to stop feeding into it, definitely with the Sun and Judgment being there. But the Four of Cups coming out connected to the Two is, it's rough. It's rough, But I'm not seeing there needing to be an end to a relationship, though, either. I just think that there are problems with communication that need to be worked out here between the Knight of Cups and the Knight of Swords. Yeah, it kind of goes back to what I was saying about the relationship not really coming to an end here. Celebration, there's going to be a reason to celebrate, which is good. Especially out of all this emotional difficulty, because again, the Sun is there. Like I keep feeling it, even though you may be drained a little bit, the Sun is still there. Integration, the mind, the body, and the spirit going in the same direction so that you can experience passion. All of them are really good. It's just you need to get all three firing together here for you to start having that passion return back into your life. It's going to be a lot of effort, but there needs to be this equal balance here, I feel like, with the Two of Coins and the Nine of Coins. Like, it can't just be one person putting in all the effort. The other person has to meet you halfway, though, too. Especially if you're dealing with some difficult emotions that I feel like, you need to talk about, but it's almost like, I don't know, I kind of feel like with the Knight of Swords, you may be afraid of hurting somebody else with, what you're trying to say. There's things that need to be said, but then at the same time, it's like, you're still bringing the emotions too. All right, we're going to take a look at Whispers of Love to see what you guys can do to attract love into your life. Appreciate this moment. Each and every situation has an opportunity to grow and find love. Yeah, yep. Rest and relaxation is essential. We all have a fundamental need to take breaks. Wow. So yeah, maybe needing to take a little bit of a break here to get some, emotional clarity more than anything here. I do feel like, that the Knight of Cups connected to the Five of Cups. Yeah. I don't like creating drama that isn't there. I would have expected to see a more negative card attached to that, but it being in your environment with the Eight of Cups is a little bit different. So when you're looking at the Knight of Cups connected to the Five, this could be talking about somebody who is just kind of all over the place with their emotions and not really fulfilling the offers that they're making here for a connection. And that may kind of be where the Five of Cups is playing in here. But when you're looking at it with the Eight of Cups, I really do think that, if there's new emotional offerings being made here, there is a need for you to stop feeding into the hurt emotions of the past. Because again, the sun is there. There is an ability here to make the most of the relationship. You're going to have to bust your ass to get out of this feeling of being numb, but damn it, your partner has to meet you halfway in this situation. You can't be trying to balance everything out on your own and not being met halfway. All right, Leo, what bothers me about this the most is that the sun is still here. I'm not seeing the Ten of Swords. I'm not seeing death. Some of you really are feeling drained from this situation, though. Now, what I feel like is happening here is that somebody has to say something about the emotional pain in the past over somebody not really, following through on emotional offers here, especially when it comes to the relationship. When I'm looking at the Knight of Swords, I feel like it's either you needing to say something that may really hurt the other person, or they're saying something to you that is bringing up emotional pain from the past, and it's like you're still feeding into it. But then you get to this place where you're like numb. You're numb. You're numb when it comes to dealing with it. Now, as far as the Two of Cups goes, I really do feel like this is a one-sided situation here, because you're looking at the relationship coming out of this, but you're looking at you putting in all the effort here between the 8 and the 9, and then still needing to balance out things within the relationship. Now, being all pentacles or coins here, for some of you, it is going to have to do with financial stability on top of hurt emotions surrounding a relationship. But, again, judgment, right? Like needing to be okay with the past and stop feeding into it. Stop feeding into those hurt emotions. It's like something that you absolutely have to move away from. Especially if you're wanting to feel the energy of the sun again, not just on you, but on the relationship as well. It's a little bit difficult. And, going back to witness and guilt, right? Like, I worry that some of you are feeling, like, guilty as far as something you may have done. But I don't know. I feel more like, that sense of guilt is coming from the other person. It's almost like you feel obligated in the situation. But it's like now you're becoming a witness to the experience and speaking up about it. But what's funny here is the soul trees, which takes a totally different spin. You're looking at celebration, integration, and passion. The only way that you're going to get to celebrate anything within a relationship is if you get everything moving in the same direction and start feeling some passion. But then at the same time, appreciate this moment and rest and relaxation, needing to appreciate the positive moments, but only after you take a break. But again, I'm not seeing the ending of a relationship. I'm just saying that for some of you, you're going to need to take a break from the situation because there are a lot of hurt emotions surrounding what is happening here, specifically with this Knight of Cups. And looking at it connected to the 8, again, I don't feel like there's a lot of follow through when it comes to, somebody who is, offering this emotional connection. It's like, and I've always said that with the Knight of Cups, actions. Talk is cheap. You need to see actions with this. But there is a lot of difficult emotions surrounding this. But, again, with judgment, you got to stop feeding into it. And you need to become a witness to what is happening here instead of being stuck with the emotional pain.